Welcome to the UK Fantasy Football Show, Goal's weekly podcast that discusses many of football fans' favourite pastime. We'll be reacting to the results of Game Week 23, taking an in-depth look at the relegation race, and revealing our teams for Game Week 24. Joining me, Sam and Dave for this week's show is Goal's Deputy Head of English Language, Mark Buckingham, and we're being treated to a midweek match day this week. We haven't had one of them in a little while, which is coming off the back of what I can only describe as a weekend of saviour point scoring for us. Sam, you snuck in Sergio Aguero.
I didn't sneak him in. I told you in the podcast.
You snuck him in.
It was put out on all major podcasting platforms. I was very overt about it.
But I forgot until I saw it, and I saw 26 points.
Yeah. I would have been screwed if Aguero hadn't come up with that brace, because my next highest point scoring player I got 3 points, and I got 4 of them. So yeah, I'd have been nothing.
He really carried your team. It's a great transfer in, and one that I looked at with a deep degree of envy.
Yeah, how much envy? Have you just transferred him?
So much envy that I threw him straight in as soon as I saw how many points he scored. Did my wild card, threw my toys out.
Oh really?
Well, I couldn't get him in otherwise. My strikers were all cheap. I could have taken a hit, I guess, with a -4, but I just thought now is the time. Been flirting with a wild card for a while. I've made sweeping changes. I'll go through them in a little bit.
Interesting you've done that, because I'm toying with playing my free hit.
I'm saving it for the FA Cup, because when the FA Cup starts to mess with the game weeks and you end up later in the season with 1 week where you've got like 4 teams playing and another week where you've got 18 matches or something silly, because of the way the FA Cup skews it, I always leave it till late. But you do what you want. You take your free hit.
Well, yeah, I am top on it, so you could argue that I know best.
You do, yeah. We'll see. You extended your lead this weekend by a grand total of 1 point, because thanks to Van Dijk, he was my saviour this week. 15 points, I think he got in the end. So he was another good example of a top transfer.
And you were lauding last week as a one to buy.
Yeah, so I felt good, a little bit better about that. But he kind of did exactly what I was sort of suggesting he might do. The fact he's such a threat from corners, and he is undervalued at 6.4 million. I mean, just looking at the screen now, Trent Alexander-Arnold got 10 points as well, but he's a million more. I mean, Dave, you're the real winner here. You got both of them in your team.
Yep. Yeah, that goal really elevated my score from being absolutely atrocious to just below average.
So you got 43 points this game week, and 28 of those points came from Liverpool at the end.
Yeah.
I think something to be mindful though with Van Dijk and transferring him and expecting goal returns is that for the rest of the season, he won't be marked at corners by Fred and Brandon Williams. So,
but
didn't Maguire try and get there as well? There was like 3 United players all trying to stop that cross coming in, wasn't there?
But it's like that a lot with Van Dijk though. Like, he just seems to effortlessly get the ball onto his head.
It's timing, innit?
He just was waiting in the right place, the right time. Didn't even have to really try that hard to beat the header of everyone else.
Good corner. Time you run.
Yeah, it was a nice corner. He didn't really have to do much. He just jumped up in the air and let it hit him on the face. But zonal marking is words fail me as to how it is a very a system that's implemented in professional football.
In fairness, Van Dijk tears like man markers apart for corners as well. Like, you see them try and chase him around, and he's just gliding through the box to head that goal in.
But Brandon Williams was there to block him. He's about 5'6", and then they had Fred as a supplementary blocker. He's about 5'4" and crap.
Didn't quite work, did it?
Ollie's at the wheel.
Ollie's at the wheel. To be fair, 2-0, it could have been a lot worse for your team.
Could have been better if Martial had hit a barn door.
Very true.
Who knows what would have happened if Solskjaer hadn't been playing our most talismanic player with a broken back all season.
But I mean, Liverpool had a few chances as well. They could have scored a few, like Mane.
Yeah.
Well, they had Firmino's strike was ruled out, wasn't it? For VAR after the foul on De Gea, and then.
Did you think that was a foul?
At the time, I didn't, and then I started to come around to it a little bit that he was actually backing into him.
So you're part of the goalkeepers union these days, aren't you? Because you did some goalkeeper training.
I don't know if that makes me part of it, but
it was a foul.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he was challenging for the ball though, quite genuinely, I suppose.
So was Son when he broke Gomez's ankle.
So what, are we saying that was a definite red card?
No, I'm just saying it was a foul.
All right, okay. Because I was going to say I thought it was a yellow card. It never went to break his leg, did it? It didn't look like a horrendous challenge. But yeah, I don't know. It backed into him a bit, but he was challenging for the ball. I thought De Gea should have handled it a bit better.
Well,
But the way De Gea then reacted was totally out of order, just going up to the referee and shouting in his face, and the United players all surrounding the ref. I mean, if you know you've got VAR, surely we don't need to do that anymore, do we?
I think it's going to take a while for players to come around to that. And
Yeah.
realize. Do you reckon it was a foul, Mark?
Just about.
Just about.
But again, it is because it's on the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, if it had been Van Dijk challenging one of the defenders, it probably wouldn't have been a foul. But obviously, goalkeepers always get a little bit of extra protection.
Yeah.
A 4-0 universal agreement here then, that was a foul.
Same.
But Mane got through, didn't he, as well? And he just hit it straight at De Gea's legs, which was quite frustrating because he was part of my pathetic midfield this week that scored. What was that? That must be like just over 10 points or something there.
I think all of our midfields did really bad, but we all have pretty much the same players in midfield,
Yeah.
so it's not really that surprising.
Henderson's shot I thought was really good when he hit the post.
Post, yeah.
'Cause
that was a save by De Gea, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, it was. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a wonderful save, but he thundered that. And I thought it was in direct. This is where I'm going to get a bit deep with your tactical analysis here.
Warning.
Which I'm going to
from your notes.
segue into making a very strong fantasy football recommendation. In the Leicester match, the ball came across to James Maddison twice, and he should have just pinged it first time. It was rolling beautifully. You can just whip it up. He controlled it and then jinked back in and then scuffed his shot both times. So basically, sell James Maddison
That's
because he
your
doesn't take
recommendation.
first-time shots. It looked like he was under the guide of Van Gaal, where you weren't allowed to take first-time shots when he was managing United.
I might drop him. I've already dropped.
I thought it was a half-baked argument, mate. I didn't expect you to fall for it.
Well, I think
He's not been prolific, has he?
No,
in
he
the
had
point
one
scoring?
good game week recently, but yeah, they had some difficult games before that. So
It was that Newcastle match was 11, wasn't it? 11
Yeah.
points and then 2 and 2 in the last 2.
I'm thinking of dropping it. I've already dropped one Leicester player in my little wild card spree, so I might drop him. But it's just trying to find someone of a similar price because he isn't that expensive.
No, I honestly think it's a Brendan Rodgers diktat that you have to take a touch before you shoot outside the area, which is why.
Do managers actually stop players from doing that? It seems like a bit of a
Yeah,
odd thing to be like.
Well, I say
Always
managers.
take a touch.
Van Gaal did. Yeah,
Did they?
Yeah.
It just seems like an odd like if you're working on stuff in training and like an opportunity comes to you in a match and you get a chance to hit it first time from outside the area, especially with players like Maddison who is technically amazing, you'd always fancy him to hit the target.
Yeah, but then it's the manager's instructions, isn't it?
Especially in the
It's, you know,
Premier League as well, which is what I found was a lot of chances do come from that area, just outside the area where you can get a snapshot.
What do you
away
mean
and
you
just-
found? You sound like you used to play in the Premier League.
Did you not remember when I played there? I remember when I used to watch it, like Premier League when Huddersfield were up there. I thought to myself, it's very hard. I found it was actually quite hard for the teams to work themselves into the area, and you always had that bit of danger because of the quality around the edge of the box that someone could just lash it in from nowhere really and score.
Well, that's clearly what Steve Bruce did with John Joe Shelby because it was like we just can't get the ball in the goddamn box.
Yeah.
John Joe, get the ball, shoot. We can't
Exactly,
we can't pass either. The fact we managed to beat Chelsea is just ridiculous to me, considering we just cannot pass as a team. It's just absurd, and it kind of masks at the moment some of the problems at Newcastle. In that,
Well, I don't watch a huge amount of Newcastle because I'm sane. But like Sean Longstaff was heralded as the new Michael Carrick mixed with a bit of Pirlo. Can he not pass it?
he can sometimes. I mean, the match that I watched that really convinced me that we couldn't pass it, I'm not sure he actually started in that match. That was against Leicester when we lost 3-0. And it was every single pass, every other pass was wayward or just useless, going nowhere. It was not a good passing performance. And I think that while they might have one or two people in the team who can pass a ball, Shelby being the greatest example of that, who's very, very good at passing. If only a couple of people can pass, you can't string a lot together, really.
Yeah.
just 1-2 the way up the pitch.
Yeah, might be easy to mark that. I get us out of the game. It's just a bit of a problem we've got at the moment. We can't really score a whole lot. Almiron is kind of found a bit of form there. But I mean, Hayden's scoring a winner. He's not really a goal scorer. Joel Linton's proven to be a terrible signing.
Yeah.
I think
Is it
everyone
40 mil?
is around that. It's 30 to 40 mil. I can't remember the exact figure.
Just an average Premier League striker these days for that price.
So we kind of need to sort that out. But I guess on the positive side, we got 3 points. We'll come back to the relegation battle in a little bit and where Newcastle is sitting within that. Let's just look at the tally that we've got so far in our little fantasy football show league, which is Sam top on 1,272 points. I'm now second. Well, I have been second for a while with 1,243 points. And then Dave lags behind a little bit in third with 1,181 points. No changes at the top of our UK Fantasy Football Show Public League, where Mayinul Islam remains top. He's stuck with Aguero as captain. good move. Why change your winning formula? I think a lot of FPL managers will be throwing Aguero into their team this weekend. He must be the player who's been transferred in the most. I'm just having a look. Yeah, 174,000 people have thrown him in the past 24 hours. Very popular.
You know where I go, people follow.
Okay. Listeners, you can join our league and test yourself against us all season long. The code to type in on the FPL website is NHC4WZ. So, this week our big talking point is the relegation battle. Unlike the title race, which at this point is pretty much a procession, there's all to play for in the bottom half of the league. I want to start by going through our predictions when in the show earlier this season. So we all did pretty terribly, to be honest. So Dave, you kicked us off in the show, I think it was 4 episodes in, with Sheffield United, Burnley and Brighton.
Oh, well, not terrible.
Not terrible. Sheffield United is going to be a common theme here as we go through these. I predicted Sheffield United, Crystal Palace and Brighton. So I probably did worse. Palace have had a...
What do you mean probably?
But I did do worse. They do it. So I've had a worse time of it. And then Sam is probably the winner here.
Oh. Have you not learned, Miles?
Because he picks the only team that are actually in the bottom 3. Norwich, rock bottom at the moment. He went Norwich, Newcastle, was wrong there, potentially, and Sheffield United. So again.
Because I was umming and ahhing about Newcastle, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And I think I only put them in to spite you.
Yeah, you did. It was between them and Brighton.
It's not like
and,
right.
And you changed your mind. So we all had similar-ish teams in there, but yeah, it's proven to be quite different in the end. Sheffield United being the big sort of exception to that rule. What I was going to do, actually, Mark, who did you go with? Who were you thinking would be relegated? Were there any teams that jumped out at you at the start of the season?
I'll probably say the 3 I'm going to say in a minute.
Okay, go on.
I think Sheffield United would have been fair, really, because it's one of those where obviously they've done fantastically well, but you were never sure quite how well their tactics would translate to being in the Premier League. I think Norwich, in particular, because you actually look at their squad and what they did last summer, they didn't spend much money at all. And you kind of get the impression, certainly, as kind of the season's gone on, obviously they're not doing a lot in January, that they're kind of thinking, we'll bank all this money, we get relegated, we're not going to have loads of players on big contracts and stuff, we pool our resources together, try and come straight back up, and then you're in a better position to maybe sort of consolidate in the Premier League for 2-3 seasons, maybe something similar to how Burnley have done. Yeah. And then outside of that, probably someone like Brighton, I would have said. Again, just, Graham Potter, who came in over the summer, again, it was a bit of a risk, you could say, giving him the job. And so it's probably worth saying that they would have gone down if I was predicting 3 back then.
All right, we'll go through who we actually think now at this point will be relegated later in. First of all, what I thought we'd do is just run through the table, ascending from 20th, to assess where the different teams are in the sort of positions before we give our thoughts. So, rock bottom, 20th at Norwich with 17 points. They did win at the weekend, didn't they? Was it against Bournemouth?
Yeah.
And so that has helped them a little bit. They were 6 points adrift before that. But yeah, 3 points adrift from Bournemouth actually in 19th. Do we have any hope for them in this room?
No.
All round no's. That was a pretty easy one, actually. Seems like they're a dead cert for us to think they're all going to go down. 19th then, Bournemouth. This is an interesting one. So they've been in the Premier League for a few seasons now under Eddie Howe. They do look pretty screwed at this point. They've had 4 defeats in a row. Feel like they're in free fall. What do we reckon about them?
They're gone.
I think they're gone as well. They've just lost to Norwich, so I mean, that's, if anything, seals your fate slightly. It's when the other worst team in the league beat you.
Yeah. I mean, their big problem, certainly in the last few weeks, has been scoring goals. I mean, they've only scored 20 in 23 Premier League games this season. I think it's not scored in 7 of the last 9 games. Callum Wilson's not scored in the league since September. And I think the fact they've been in the Premier League for so many seasons is a fantastic achievement for the size of their club. I would say they have spent a hell of a lot of money over the last few years as well. And you just wonder, maybe now, is it getting to the point, a bit similar perhaps with like Pochettino at Tottenham, are they getting a little bit tired of hearing Eddie Howe's voice on the training ground and stuff? Is he no longer able to inspire them, motivate them, or, just bring a bit of freshness? to what's gone on.
They've made some poor signings with that splashing of money as well, haven't they? Like signings who looked initially like, you raised your eyebrow a bit and thought, what are they doing signing them for 17 million? Mostly Liverpool rejects.
Yeah.
So like Solanke, who was the other one in Liverpool?
Jordan Ibe.
Ibe,
a few years ago. Yeah.
So anonymous, I forgot he existed.
And I mean, I think the big problem Bournemouth are going to have if they get relegated is you could conceivably see them struggling in the Championship next season because they're going to have, if you like, a bit of a bloated squad, and it's how many of those players are they actually going to be able to cash in on, maybe Callum Wilson, but was it 12 months ago people were talking 50, 60 million for him? You're not going to get anywhere near that now.
Up to September, especially from an FPL point of view, everyone was all over him because he was getting at least 5 to 7 points every single game week up until about game week 7, I think. And then he's I think the most he's got since then is 2 points. Rubbish. And, not wanting to boast about my predictions. All right, oh well. Ryan Fraser, shite. Everyone at the start of the season go, oh yeah, he's brilliant. He's got.
He was good last season, to be fair to him.
Yeah, but no. So was Harry Maguire. He's got 14 assists last season, and some smart Alec was saying he'll defer back to about 6 in a season. He's got 3 so far this season, so pretty much on track for that.
So you all think Bournemouth are screwed then?
Well, I think the fact they've got 20 points and you need about 35, 36 to be safe. Are they going to win 6 games?
I think they'll come back. So, I mean, what we've seen so far this season are teams that look down and out. So Watford and Southampton probably being the best cases. And in those examples, I mean, Southampton didn't sack the manager. It looked like they might do at one point, especially when they got smashed by Leicester. But Watford, obviously, they brought Pearson in and that's helped them have a bounce. I still think Bournemouth could come back a bit. I think they are clearly out of form at the moment, but they still have some pretty decent depth in that squad. People with Premier League experience, and they're not like that many points off. You look at 17th, for example, Watford. So they're out of the relegation zone. It's only 3 points off them. They're not that far adrift or anything like that.
No, but whilst it is only 3 points, I think I'm looking at it as in the sort of percentage of matches left that they've got to win. And that 3 points is a win. And Bournemouth are not winning. They've got to win. They need to win 5+ games. And I can't see that happening. Watford need to win 4 games. I think that 1 game is a huge difference.
And it's the question really is, like you say, they're on a bad run of form, but what is it that's going to jolt them out of that bad run of form?
Yeah, that's what I don't see. Everything you said before kind of makes sense about them. Eddie Howe's been there a long time. Is stuff being translated onto pitch? They have had injury problems. Philip Billing was another signing. I mean, he was like over 10 million to bring into midfield. And what's he done for them? Nothing.
Yeah, really. That's it. They've spent like sort of 10 to 15 million pounds on a lot of players. Yeah. But how much have they really improved them and progressed
them? So they've only won 5 games this season. Remarkably, 2 of their victories, one of them was against Chelsea and one of them was against Manchester United. And they managed to draw against Arsenal. So they've picked up points probably where you don't expect them to. That's maybe what you're looking at, Miles, as in like a potential...
you look at what happened this weekend with Burnley and Leicester, and I mean, I can't imagine many people went into that match thinking Burnley would beat them, especially when... Did they go 1-0 down as well at one point?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think many people said, that they'll come around for that. But they did, and sometimes all you need is one good performance. So you look at the next few games, Bournemouth, they've got Brighton this midweek at home, and Bournemouth are much better at home than they are away, where they are terrible. And then after that, skipping out the FA Cup game that they'll field a second team for, they're at home again to Aston Villa. So, get a couple of decent results against those
Proverbial
teams.
6-pointers, aren't they?
Very much proverbial 6-pointers. And then even after that, you got Burnley coming up sort of on the horizon within a couple of games after a Sheffield United clash. And I think if they haven't won either or both of those games, then I think they probably are a bit screwed because they do need to win those. Teams that are just above them, within touching distance. But I don't think they're down and out yet. I wouldn't say they're like Norwich, where it's very difficult to see them come back.
It's just hard not to look past that form table where they've got all those L's next to the.
But look at Burnley. Burnley. They were exactly the same.
Yeah, I think Burnley.
But Burnley started from a much higher point there, didn't they? I think Watford's a better example. That's what's like 11 points they've picked up in their last 5 games. They were down and out, so it could happen. That's the beauty of football.
Okay,
but yeah, done.
Okay, for you guys. 18th then, Aston Villa.
Safe,
you're saying? Yeah. See, no, I think they're done.
I think the mercurial Jack Grealish will power them forward. I think Reina will be the saviour in terms of their defence, bring a bit of solidity to it, and I think they'll get more points than Brighton, essentially.
Okay, so that's your barometer here.
Yeah, I think West Ham and Watford will just about do enough. Brighton, I think, are crap. I think they'll go down.
I know you mentioned Grealish as well, and I don't think he's one of those players that's like going to keep them up. Yeah, he does pop up and score for them, and he is a little bit like when you think of the Aston Villa team, he's the first player you think of, but he's not a game changer.
Oh, he is a game changer.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think he's just hyped. He's just a creative player that plays in a role where he gets the attention because he pops up with a goal every now and again. He doesn't make that team a great deal better than it already is.
I think he's got the mindset and the mentality of the captain. He is the captain. So we were discussing it last week in the office. Who would you prefer for your team to sign of Maddison and Grealish? Grealish all day long. Similar type of play.
I think they're both very similar. I wouldn't.
I think it depends on the position you're referring to, or the players, the team sort of. Like for Newcastle, I'd rather have Grealish, but other teams might prefer Maddison.
And I wouldn't look at either of those players and go, oh, I definitely prefer Grealish over Maddison. Like I'd be literally trying to work out the difference between the two of them. I'd say they're both very similar players. I don't think either of them are really like captain material. I think the Aston Villa team, they're just trying to get a price on him essentially because they're hoping that someone stupid like Man United will come along and pay crazy money for him.
You're a dickhead.
But I think Villa are down for me. I don't think, like, defensively they've been really poor this season. They've got the second worst defence in the league to Norwich, and I think that tells you a lot. 44 goals they've conceded, so that's got to be a telltale sign, hasn't it? If you can't keep goals out, then you're going to struggle. Yeah.
So you're going with the bottom three of the ones that are
I'm
down?
going with the current bottom three, yeah.
Okay. What about Watford then? So Watford are currently 1 point over the relegation zone, looking much better under Pearson. Do we think that they have the legs to continue that good run of form?
Yeah, I do. What they've got left? 13 games. They've got to win 4 matches. I think they'll do that.
You think they can win the 4 matches?
Yeah. Powered by Troy Deeney.
Decore. Mark, what do you reckon on Watford?
Yeah, I think they've just got that little bit of momentum now.
They just hit it at the right time, haven't they?
And Nigel Pearson's come in. Kind of, they're a little bit more organised, if you want to say, from a Premier League point of view, in terms of being able to get results. And I think they should, like Sam says, 4 wins. They should be able to do that. And I think momentum at this stage of the season is quite key, really.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about Watford, but I'm sort of on the fence. I can't decide on who my third team would be, to be honest. I'm umming and ahhing between a couple of different options.
West Ham.
Well, I think Moyes is going to keep them up.
Yeah, but
do you reckon West Ham?
8 of their next 10 Premier League games they've got to play. They play Leicester this week, twice against Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Wolves, Spurs, Chelsea. That's 8 of West Ham's next 10 Premier League. I mean, it is one of those where they could get 2 or 3 surprise results.
It'll be West Ham that beat Liverpool, won't it?
And they'll either do that, and obviously they'll be safe, or they could lose 8 out of those 10 games.
Yeah, the time to play those top teams is in the last sort of few games, really, of the season, isn't it? When they're sort of looking towards their holidays, they're not going to win the title, they're out of the top 4 race, or they're out of the title race, as everyone sort of is. Now it's a little bit more difficult to win those games. Like you always used to see it with, I think it was Sunderland that always used to come back at the end of the season, beating some big teams, and somehow surviving the drop season after season. But yeah, that's tough for West Ham. Then I hadn't seen their run, to be honest. But
I don't think that matters.
No,
because that's 8 out of 10. So say the other 2 matches are, I don't know who they're against. I was slightly more. Well, they definitely will be easier teams. Win those 2, they're up to 29. So they then need to win a couple more games. Done. Pick up a couple of draws out of that 8 out of 10. I'm a remarkably positive person today, aren't I?
Is it just because David Moyes is the manager?
Absolutely not. Agent Moyes. No, I think, if anything, if we're going to pick a spurious reason as to why I want West Ham to stay up, it's the fact that Robert Snodgrass has started playing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan of Snoddy.
Yeah, he's just good at set pieces.
All right.
And I've got a lot of time for that. As a similar dead ball specialist.
Well, 23 points there, also only 1 point above the relegation zone. They do have a game in hand, but the game in hand is against Liverpool, so not a great game in hand to have. They're probably not going to win that, I think it's fair to say. 15th, a Brighton, very much still in the mix for relegation, only 3 points above the relegation zone. Does anyone think they might still go down?
Yeah, I think it'll be they'll be the third team.
Okay.
Just because I've got nothing positive to say about them. I like Aaron Connolly, reasonably good Premier League footballer. That's about it. Aaron Moy, Quite like him as well.
Oh my, that's
Yeah.
why they're not going down.
And the only reason I like him is because of you, which is that's a compliment.
It is,
really.
yeah. Thanks, Sam. Touched by that.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one with Brighton, I think.
I'm always quite torn with them because they put in some really good performances
Yeah.
sometimes. They've beaten Spurs early this season, haven't they? They got a result against Chelsea. I think it's just the overhead kick that makes me really like them.
If anything that makes me think they're not going to go down, it might just be that they don't quite have the little bit of rot that some of the other teams down there potentially have, like your Bournemouth. And I do have a little feeling that Burnley might get drawn into this, probably for similar reasons as Bournemouth, in that maybe Dyche has done as much there as he can possibly do.
Maybe, but I was looking actually because I did some research for a change. I was looking at Burnley's record. Actually, they have had a run over the last sort of 2-3 months. They lost 3 Premier League games, won the next 2. Lost 3 Premier League games, won the next 2. Then lost the last 4 before beating Leicester yesterday. So you wonder. I mean, all right, they're playing at
They're
Man
gonna pick up a
United this
couple
week,
more.
so who knows? That could be a win, could not be. But I think.
They only need a few more wins, don't they? to
Yeah,
really
I
kind of get
think that's
themselves
it.
out
When
of
they're at 27, and might not even need to be 4 wins really for Burnley, and I think they've got enough kind of. I suppose their style of play makes you feel that they're a little bit more capable of grinding out a win if they need it.
I think Burnley are easily safe. Another win, and they could feasibly be 9th. I think people thinking they're.
Such a poor league, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so
Shit.
fortunate. A lot of those teams down there are so fortunate that this season there has been quite a lot of poor performances there.
I think that's one of the ways that you can sort of say, people go, oh, Liverpool, greatest Premier League team of all time. It's like, well, it's probably the shittest league of all time because Man United and Chelsea are 5th and 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well.
It's embarrassing that Liverpool have drawn a game.
But you look at all those teams down towards the bottom end, the bottom 6, 7, for whichever 3 of those get relegated, how many of their players do you think Premier League clubs are actually going to be clamouring to sign in the summer to keep them in the Premier League?
Well, I think it's probably a few exceptions, aren't there? I mean, we've gone over Grealish, probably being one of them.
Yeah, but I don't think Villa will get relegated.
Yeah.
So
Nathan Ake.
The thing is, though, the teams that are down there, a lot of them, you probably. I mean, it's not a disaster if they get relegated. Any of them are quite happy to get relegated, and they know they'll come back fairly strong in the Championship one way or another. It might take them a couple of seasons to get promoted again.
Watford are one of those teams that could just have one of those meltdowns, couldn't they? If they go down.
Yeah, because
They sack a
they haven't
manager
been
every
down in a
season.
while, but it's not been that long, has it, since they were
think
down in the Championship?
Bournemouth are the same. Bournemouth remind me. I mean, I know obviously Fulham were only in the Premier League for that one season, but kind of remind me a little bit of them in terms of you've got a lot of, like say, cash spent on your squad. I mean, it depends what's in those players' contracts for, when they get relegated, are the clauses in there and stuff like that? And, are they going to be stuck with a lot of those players or not?
When I was looking and sort of choosing which teams I thought would be relegated, I was looking at sort of doing as you asked, Miles, actually, and trying to tie it into Fantasy League and see if there's any people that would be worth it. And I started looking at Pookie. He's now back at his starting price, 6.5 mil. How the mighty have fallen. But still 1 million people still own him.
Yeah. I think it's just because people get lazy about dropping
Those are
people.
the guys that don't make any
Throw 'em in,
changes.
yeah. That's what it is, yeah.
It must be.
There's one of our Australians who works for Goal called Kieran Francis, has evidently tossed off playing Fantasy League because he got like 4 points on Saturday, like half of his team were injured, and he just doesn't care anymore. He's still got 60 more points than Dave.
That hurts. That does hurt.
That was like Pete's score, though, wasn't it, when we brought him on the show?
Yeah.
And he had such a high score, and he hadn't touched it since the start of the season. Painful to see that sort of stuff, really.
Is there anyone from Bournemouth you reckon would be tolerable from a fantasy football perspective?
Right now, no. But, I mean, you get him back in form, Wilson, you'd think he's worth a punt in decent form. But right now, there's no way you'd put anyone in your team in right mind. Maybe, is it Ramsdale who starts in goal for them?
Yeah, he's doing all right. I think
Yeah.
he might actually be their top point scorer.
Yeah, he gets a lot of save points because their defence is so shabby. But I don't really think there is at the moment. I don't think you'd be a bit of a madman to throw anyone in unless you were taking a real gamble. Ake sometimes when they're in form, but they're just not. So
Yeah, they're
you
really
think
not
you
in
could.
form, are they?
It was Harry Wilson as
Harry
well.
Wilson, he comes up with some points, doesn't he? Now and
Earlier
again?
in
He's
the
only
season.
got 60 points or 59 points as Harry Wilson, so that's pretty crap considering he's like 6.5 mil.
I've had Rico on my bench most of the season, and he came up with some points, didn't he, for quite a while. But I think now they're looking in trouble.
Yeah. I think Norwich are more appealing for points because their players are a little bit cheaper. They're arguably at least they're scoring, unlike Bournemouth, so you can get the odd goal.
Bournemouth have very much got their prices inflated based on last season.
Yeah. And I think there are other players sort of in that mix down in the relegation area where there's some value, as Dave's found with Decore. How much is he, Decore, when you managed to throw him in? He's 5 or
I'm not sure.
5.6.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some value in there. It's just picking the right players, I guess. I've thrown in, we're going to get onto them now actually. So, Southampton are 13th first. Obviously, Danny Ings being the big one that has been a lot of value to a lot of FPL managers lately. Does anyone think Southampton are going to go down now at this point?
No.
I
Hassan
think,
Hüttel saved them.
yeah, I think from 15th onwards they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Burnley upwards are safe, including Newcastle. Miles,
That's what
you
I
are
was getting
safe.
onto. So I've actually thrown a Newcastle player into my team in my little wildcard spree, which I'm going to regret, definitely, because it seems to kill them in terms of form. But Almiron has gone in because he's scoring a lot at the moment now. He's very, very cheap. And I just needed a cheap midfielder because I'd thrown in Aguero into my attack.
I don't know why you do it to yourself.
I don't know either.
you-
to be
Yeah,
Because
honest.
you do it
You
every
keep
time,
on-
and then
I know.
it backfires.
I know.
You keep on inching closer to me, then you make harebrained decisions that had it all crushing down again.
Yeah, it's not going to end well. But he's in there. He's because he is still cheap considering that he's scoring a bit. You know, he scored. Let's have a look here. He's got 8 points the week before last. He's not done that well. He scored a bit in the FA Cup, and he scored against Palace a few game weeks ago. And I think we've got a decent run coming up, which is what talked me into it as I was sat there.
How much is he?
He's 5.8. So very, very cheap. But like, I wouldn't have put him in unless I'd put in Aguero, who completely distorted the entirety of my team. You'll be glad to know, by the way, I'm jumping ahead here, but you'll be glad to know, Sam, after all your abuse for weeks and weeks, I've finally dropped Tammy Abraham. He's gone after that performance at the weekend.
Who was he playing?
Newcastle. So
Who are safe, therefore a Premier League team.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so no one thinks Newcastle are going to go down, do they?
No.
No, I don't, mate.
Happy
All hail
days.
Steve Bruce.
On the same amount of points now as Everton and Arsenal, 29 points. Again, I guess no one thinks they're going to go down. Pretty much from this point onwards, I think we're safe to say they're all safe, aren't they? But, you know, you look a little bit higher. Crystal Palace on 30 points. Spurs on 31 points. I didn't realise they hadn't elevated themselves up, but they haven't really kicked on since Mourinho's come in, have they?
No, I'm just looking at the table now. If United beat Burnley on Saturday, we're safe.
Can call it. You're close to that 40-point mark that you need.
Then focus on the Europa
36,
League.
is it? Yeah. Then heads down for the cup.
Thought you said you didn't want the cup. You've come around to it now.
Yeah, I'll take whatever I can get, mate, if I'm honest.
Sheffield United, we haven't even mentioned them because they're 7th, which, you know, is pretty remarkable considering we all thought they were gone this season, weren't they?
Yeah, it's class.
I hope he gets manager. I mean, to be honest, he won't. Klopp will win manager of the season, but he's done a remarkable job there at Sheffield United.
Sensational.
Yeah, they've won 8. 8's good. It's a good amount of wins, that. So, I think they've been smashing.
It's just their stubbornness away from home that's really put them in that place in the table. Has it lost one away game? Is it 2 away games? Liverpool and maybe Man City? I think.
And do you know what else I like about Sheffield United is that John Fleck is scoring a few goals for them because he, like when I was just getting to the end of playing like desktop or laptop version of Football Manager, he was one of the wonder kids on it. So I've just got that natural affinity
towards him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how little
Bit of
things just
nostalgia.
make you like teams or players.
Right, so let's run through who are relegated teams. Start with you, Mark. Who have you gone for your 3?
I'm going to go Norwich, Bournemouth, West Ham.
Norwich, Bournemouth, West Ham. Sam, who have you gone with?
Norwich, Bournemouth, and Brighton.
Okay, Brighton in the mix. Dave?
And mine is Norwich, Bournemouth, and Villa.
Okay, and I'm going to go with Norwich, Villa, and Watford. I'm the only one that's going to pick Bournemouth to stay up. I'm probably going to regret that, but a little bit of variation. I don't think any of us have picked the same 3, have we?
No, Dave's just read the table out. Just read the table.
Leaving behind our relegation chat then, let's look specifically at Game Week 24. Before we run through mine, Dave and Sam's changes, Mark will be revealing his 1 week wonder team. He has to pick a team to get as many points as possible from this one game week. And I've not told Sam and Dave this yet, but this weekend, Goal's Liverpool correspondent Neil Jones set a new high score with 77 points.
Boom.
Smashed it out of the park. Aguero was his captain, which was undoubtedly the highlight of that with 26 points. But he also smashed it with Van Dijk getting 15, Foster got 9 points, and Adama Traore was a great pick. He got 10 points for him. So well done, Neil. Mark, it's going to be hard to match that, but hopefully you can improve a little bit on your 38 points that you
I
got.
just want to raise a point of order here. Mark has got an advantage because it's a double Liverpool game week. Is he allowed the second match? Because I'm not too worried about this week, but when it becomes a massive double game week, that one lucky soul will have like 18 matches.
They will, and that is the luck of the draw, unfortunately. I mean, you could say that some weeks...
Considering you book the guests, it doesn't feel that lucky.
Well, I mean, who knows? It can go either way, though, can't it? Sometimes you get top heavy on a team and they don't perform. There's always a bit of them in an iron with this. It's always going to be an element of luck. Can't ban guests from double game week potential. So, yes, you get Liverpool picks. You get your double points from that. Go on.
Okay, well, in that case, given I did a lot of research before last time and got hardly any points, I feel like I was hard done by because I picked that Burnley would keep a clean sheet, picked Eric Peters, and he went off before, is it the hour mark, before you get the points went off injured?
59th minute.
And so, as a sign of how little research I've done this time, I didn't realise it was a double game week for Liverpool and West Ham, so there are none of their players in my starting lineup.
You put all your research into the relegation one, though, so that's fine.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, then run through your team.
Okay, so my goalkeeper is Rayner.
Cool.
Aston Villa. And I always stick with Stekelenburg as my reserve keeper because he's 4 million. My 3-man defence is Soyuncu at Leicester, Dean at Everton. Oh no, tell a lie, I did pick one Liverpool player, Robertson. I managed to get some extra money that I didn't think I had.
It's been a long day, hasn't it, so far?
It has been a long day.
Did you say Keane from Everton, was it?
Dean.
Sorry,
yeah. And then the 2 subs are Ramsey at Southampton and Reed at West Ham because they're both 3.9 million.
Making up the numbers there.
Yep. Midfield, De Bruyne. And then, why make a decision between who do you prefer between Grealish and Maddison? Just have both, which is what I've gone for. I'm obviously going to hit up Maddison on social media and just ask him to hit it first time going forward. Well, certainly this
Ignore
week.
Brendan.
Yeah, ignore Brendan, and take Sam's advice on
James,
board.
lad in the office, got a few tips.
Leather it first time. So, and then also Son at Spurs. Because obviously, they're at home to Norwich, so hopefully he'll chip in with a goal or two.
Yeah.
And my reserve is Curtis Jones at Liverpool. Again, he's 4.3, so
Making up the numbers there.
making up the numbers. And then my 3 strikers, Mason Greenwood, 4.4 million. Especially now Rashford's injured, and they're at home to Burnley. It's almost inconceivable that Solskjaer wouldn't start with him because. What's the point of leaving him on the bench? And, who actually you're going to have up front? Martial, after his effort against Liverpool yesterday, I'm not sure he'll necessarily trust him up front, but I think Greenwood's got to play. Vardy, home to West Ham. Hopefully that missed penalty won't affect him too much. What can I say? I'm a sheep. Aguero.
I think it's a good cheap move there. Sometimes it's good to go with the crowd,
There's
safety in numbers.
That's it. And I know obviously Sheffield United's defence, they don't concede many goals at all, but probably if any team is going to sort of break them apart at some point this season, I think it's going to be City, so that's why I've kind of gone De Bruyne and Aguero. And I've still got 0.2 million spare.
Oh, wow.
You keep it, mate.
Yeah,
It's yours.
leftover change for you. Who's your captain in that lot?
I'm going to go really bold and put Greenwood as my captain.
Oh, wow.
Oh, fortune favourite. I hope you win this now.
Excellent. Well, best of luck with that team, Mark, and we'll have a look next week of how it's done. Sam, how's your team looking this week? Have you made any changes?
Not yet, but I'm going to because I've very much lived in the moment and haven't got enough Liverpool players in to take advantage of the double game week. So I think I'm going to drop a free hit.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I'm happy with the team if it reverts back to it. So that's all good. And I think I will be getting Salah, Mane, and Trent in. And also, cheeky little West Ham double of Snodgrass and my favourite striker, Hilaire.
Didn't he criticise you for that?
He does. He's just
Yeah,
shit all the time.
Right.
So I'm more likely to be having them, and then the rest of the lads will probably stick around.
Do you not have Mane then? You say you're going to put Mane in. Is he not already in there?
He's already in, yeah.
Right, okay.
But Salah and Trent, and do you know what? I'm actually toying with dropping Mane in my real team and bringing Salah in.
He is in better form at the moment, isn't he?
And Mane missing that chance, that one-on-one, I need my most expensive players to be burying in them all day long.
He'll be smashing them in this game week. I think he's going to be my captain. I'm not settled on it yet, but...
Do you know one thing I did think about, though, of potentially not putting Salah in, or not putting Mane in, and putting Robertson in, was I think he's at risk of a bit of rotation. All of the front three could have a bit of rotation if they want to get Origi or Shaqiri in, or maybe even Lallana. So...
Well, my theory is that because they have the FA Cup match in between it, that might be the one where they rotate it and actually play with the front three, the top front three for that, for both Premier League matches. But you're right, it could definitely happen. Klopp's been known to do it before. Maybe he'll give Minamino a chance.
We'll never know, do we? We'll find out later.
We will.
Find out later.
I've already said I've made my wildcard changes. So I do have a lot of changes in my team. I actually made my changes before Sunday. So before Pope got 9 points against Leicester, which I was not expecting, but he's gone. He's finally gone. He wasn't performing very well recently. He'd actually gone down a little in price, so I didn't make as much as I'd hoped I would by getting rid of him. But I've thrown in McCarthy, Southampton goalkeeper, because they've got a few favourable fixtures coming up. I've also put in a second Liverpool defender, so I've got Gomez in there, just in time for the double game week for Liverpool. Van Dijk is obviously already in there. Tanganga, I don't know if that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
The Spurs, 4 million defender who has played the last couple of games, got 5 points the weekend against Watford. He's a gamble. He might not play long term, but he's 4 million. So,
that's a good one.
I thought I'd go with it, considering I think Mourinho hopefully will sort out the defence soon and they might get some clean sheet points. Who knows? But yeah, so he's really cheap. So he's helped. Basically, me getting Aguero in was difficult with my current team because I couldn't bring myself to drop De Bruyne, couldn't bring myself to drop Mane. I just wanted it all. I wanted to have my cake and I wanted to fucking eat it. But so I managed to get him in there. Too right. But I've dropped Son, so he's probably the main person.
Oh, that must have pained you.
It really did,
him,
yeah.
Don't you?
And I think someone said they got Norwich this weekend as well, which at home, so I'm probably going to regret that.
Yeah.
If I could try and get him in and get rid of Maddison and find 2 million down the side of the sofa, that would be nice.
Yeah.
But
I can give you 0.2 million of mine that's left over.
still got a bit to go, but I'll take that. Thank you, Matt. Okay, I'll see if the game will let me
I'll
do
give
that.
you 1.7 mil.
So, I mean, I haven't made too many changes. To be honest, I'm tempted to do it a bit more because I feel like if you're doing a wildcard, you should sweep everything aside. But some of my team is decent, so I haven't really changed my midfield too much. Almiron, I've already mentioned. I managed to squeeze him in there. He's going to be on my bench most weeks probably. But Greenwood, as Mark said before, I think you say 4.4 million.
4.4.
Yeah, so he's gone up 0.1, but he's one that I think a lot of people will look at now. With Rashford having his back injury out for 6 weeks.
He's got a double stress fracture. He was already playing with a stress fracture. You know, I'm no medically trained. Well, I'm just not medically.
You're not
trained.
a doctor.
I'm not a doctor. But broken backs are pretty serious, aren't they?
You would think so.
Yeah, never mind playing professional sport with one. But yeah,
I think Jonathan Hogg broke his neck once, and then he was back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that's Yorkshire, isn't it? Built different round here. Yeah.
What about you, Dave? What have you done with your team? What are you thinking about doing with your team?
I flirted a little bit. I've got 2 transfers, you see, so I've flirted a little bit with putting players in, but just the way the fixtures are this week, I'm not going to make any rash decisions. I was just looking then, and I could get Adama Traore in if I axe Maddison and axe Vardy and get Aguero in. If I was going to go knee-jerk, got to get Aguero in as soon as possible, but I'm not going to do that, I don't think, because I look at that Sheffield United fixture, even though it's Man City, I look at the Sheffield United fixture and think, I don't know if they'll necessarily go to town on them. I mean, they didn't beat Palace, well, they drew, so. They just didn't beat Palace. So, yeah, I don't think that's a dead cert either, and even though everyone's probably going for Aguero in a big way at the moment, I'm just going to hold off, I think.
Hold fire.
Yeah, so looking at the rest of my team, I can potentially strengthen up the bench a little bit as I've got players like Rico in there and who else? Cantwell could potentially be changed out. So I might strengthen in those areas really.
How much cash you got in the bank? Sorry, right?
I think I've only got 0.3.
A little bit of loose
so
change.
There's a little bit. You can have a play around, but I mean, Mane might be a good shout to swap him for Salah. I do think there might be like. I was a bit surprised to see Mane missed a couple of chances against United, and it did make me think, maybe he's not quite there.
They're the same price now, aren't they, as well? Just looking at 12.4 for both.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just
so
neck and neck.
if you feel one of them's going to do better, then maybe swap them out. But then De Bruyne's in there, Cantwell, Decore. Cantwell's cheap, so I don't know. It's getting a bit like for like, isn't it, really?
Calvert-Lewin did quite well on your bench this weekend.
Thanks for reminding me, mate. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah.
Was it 8 points he got?
Yeah, 8 points, frustratingly sat there on the bench. Like I say, the midfield let me down big time. I thought they would get a few more points, but they didn't. I should have left Calvert-Lewin in, but hey-ho.
TBC on transfers for now then.
Yeah.
Keep
It'll
the
be
powder
nothing
dry.
exciting.
Nothing
Let's put it that way.
Your motto for the season.
It's a potential team name for next season.
All right, let's wrap this up. Dave, Sam, Mark, thanks very much for joining us today. Listeners, you can get in touch by tweeting your fantasy football thoughts with hashtag UKFFS. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, follow on Spotify, or however you listen to podcasts on your favourite platform. Leave a review if you liked it, and if you didn't, what are you still doing here? Check out Goal for your daily dose of football news from the Premier League and around the world. Thanks for listening.